Right, welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. This has taken a further development, actually, very shortly after I had released last night's video, which I'll leave linked above. Basically, the headline sums it up, right? Ray Fisher accused Joss Whedon of abusive, unprofessional behaviour on the Justice League set. Now, there's actually been a lot of people that have come out and spoken about this, and there have been people that have categorically denied it and also issued like a further statement with respect to where his animosity comes from. Now, before we dive into this, I just want to take a few moments to say I'm still crowdfunding my film. It's called Blackfields. It's a high-concept horror fantasy film. If you want to donate, check out the link in the description box. There's a GoFundMe there. We are a couple more weeks away and then it's going to be closed. But remember, guys, if you do donate, you're entered into a competition to win an ornamental fishing-style Norse spear, which is beautiful. You can see a picture of it down below. It's going to be signed and everything. And then also a one-of-one hoodie, which is going to be signed by everyone and, you know, myself. I'm writer and director, so check it all out. You might be interested. But let's dive into this now. So I did this video last night, and I said there, look, I'm not disputing what he's saying specifically. I'm not defending Joss Whedon either, because I think most people know that Joss Whedon's a bit of a dog. But I questioned and had a healthy dose of skepticism with respect to the timing of it all. Because, look, Ray Fisher is not an actor. He was stage, theatre, and then he was given the opportunity to be, a movie actor. And he's not done anything since, right? His performance in Justice League, there was supposed to be more to it. I get that. But it was very lackluster. And obviously, like I say, there was supposed to be more to it. But obviously, because of what we saw, and it being quite crap, there was no depth there. He just seemed sulky and moody. And I get it. Again, I don't know how many times I have to repeat this. I get that there was more, but he hasn't done anything since. And it's odd timing. A lot of people will point to NDAs and things like that, but that's probably not the case, actually. I had to think about this last night, because he would have had to have probably signed new ones, because he's going to be in the Snyder Justice League. So he's, his accusations here against HBO producers, well, Warner Brothers producers and things like that, don't actually benefit him in any way with respect to the NDAs that he would have signed, because I think that he probably would have had to sign more. I do firmly believe that there's something more to be said here, like behind the curtain. There's reasons for the timing and things like that. And it's very odd that it's come out now, and I don't think it's NDAs. So just as a bit of a backstory, we'll go through this article because it also has the response by one of the people that he's accusing, not Joss Whedon. And then we'll dive into some others, because there have been people that have said, yeah, no, I can confirm this. And then there's been other high-profile actors that I would actually be inclined to believe have come out and said, no, what are you talking about? Literally, what are you talking about? And again, remember, I'm not defending Joss Whedon. I think he's a bit of a dog. But the point of Ray Fisher's comments were just like unprofessionalism. Now, unprofessionalism and abuse and things like that can be anything. It's perception. You have to list what they are. We don't know what you, Ray, have perceived as abuse. I could leave my door and I get comments all the time commenting on how I'm British, right? If I was such a snowflake little flower, I could have said that was abuse. Like, you have to remember, it's all perception. So we need to know the context behind it, Ray, before you say these kind of claims, because they're slanderous, libelous, right? We have to understand the context behind it. So let's just explore what he said, right? So actor Ray Fisher accused director Joss Whedon of gross, abusive, and unprofessional and completely unacceptable behaviour on the set of the 2017 film Justice League, in a tweet that quickly went viral on Wednesday. And it really did, like, it picked up a lot of traction. And his tweets never get traction. And again, I just think like there's some weird timing here. Now, Fisher also claimed in his tweet on Wednesday that former Warner Brothers co-president and production John Berg and former DC Entertainment president and chief creative officer Geoff Johns both enabled Whedon's alleged behaviour on Justice League. Now, the point of Geoff Johns, that's fairly well documented, that he's, you know, a bit of a, well, just basically a bit of a cock. It's pretty well documented. So I would be inclined to believe that he had, you know, he was unsavoury. Not necessarily that he enabled other people, but definitely that he was unsavoury. I would believe that. Now, it goes on further. So Berg and Johns also served as producers on Justice League, and the film's poor performance was a factor in both executives exiting their positions leading the DC Films unit at the studio. And that makes sense. Fisher offered no corroboration for his claims, and attempts to reach his representatives for further clarification went unanswered, because they are probably really worried. It's quite erratic behaviour. He just did it on the fly, and they're probably going, holy crap, you have made a PR nightmare for us here, Ray. You don't get work anyway. How are we going to get you work now? That's probably what they're thinking. Now, Whedon had no comment, and a representative for Warner Brothers did not immediately respond to a further request for comment. When reached for comment on Wednesday afternoon, Berg actually came out and said something to Variety. This is a Variety article. And he said that it was categorically untrue that we enabled any unprofessional behaviour. And he is going to say that. But then he further clarifies some of the context behind why Ray might be butthurt. And you've got to remember, right, Ray might be butthurt for many, many reasons. You got to look at the situation from an unbiased approach, right? Not defending Whedon. Whedon's a bit of a dog. But what did Whedon do to Justice League that most people didn't like? He cut and changed a lot, right? Whether it was him or whether it was from Warner Brothers directly. I would say it's a combination. I would say Ray thinks it's a combination because he's attacking not only Joss Whedon, but also executives, producers behind the movie. He also cut a lot of Ray Fisher's scenes, again, which has enabled him to not get any more work. So you've got to remember that there's definitely a vested interest in saying these kind of things from a Ray Fisher perspective. And I'm not saying that they're not true, but you'd be very naive to say that there's no vested interest in him handling it in this way, right? Especially at the time that we're living in now, just due to current events. And now we get a response which may lead to even more of a reason for Ray Fisher being butthurt. It comes from John Berg. He said, I remember Fisher being very upset that we wanted him to say "BOOYAH," which is a well-known saying of Cyborg in the animated series. And it is. But then I'm sure, you know, if you were politically minded, which Ray Fisher definitely is, and again, I'm not saying whether that's good or bad, but if we just take a look around Ray Fisher and his kind of recent tweets and things like that, he's very politically minded, right? You only have to, again, just a very rudimentary glance, right? He's very politically minded. He's very of this time right now. You know, and if he was told to say "BOOYAH," he may think that it's a racial stereotype, right? I would say that I'd say that there's potential there, based on what he's been tweeting around recently. I would say if he was told to say "BOOYAH" and he was of this mindset, he may take offence to that and say, well, that's, you know, racially, you know, prejudiced or racist. I don't know, something like that. I can see that being the case. Now, furthermore, Whedon's obviously the director of, you know, Marvel Studios, so on and so forth. So, you know, and he's been saying these kind of things for a little while now. So on June 6th, he said, I'd like to take a moment to forcefully retract every bit of this statement. And this was just a statement saying, basically, he praised Joss Whedon as a great guy, and that Snyder picked a good person to come in and clean up and finish up for him. So, look, at the end of the day, whatever you choose to believe, you'd be naive to say that there's no vested interest from either side. But if you're just taking a glance at it, Ray Fisher's very politically minded. He was told to say "BOOYAH." He wasn't happy with saying "BOOYAH." Probably some of that took offence to it as well. And without any more information, it's difficult to draw a conclusion. Now, other people have actually come out and said some bits and bobs, right? So, we have from Clay Enos, who said, yeah, I heard the same thing. And there are some comments about what Joss Whedon wanted Ezra Miller to do with Gal Gadot. And I completely, yeah, I mean, sure. Again, I don't defend him. He's a bit of a dog. Joss Whedon is definitely a bit of a dog. But we don't know that he's abusive. And someone made a very interesting point on the video that I did yesterday, was that, guys, you could deem anything to be abusive. Christopher Nolan says that you can't have seats, no chairs on set now. Definitely some little pansy ass will say that that's abuse. You've got to remember, these are actors, some of the most mollycoddled people we've ever dealt with, you know, in human history, right? These are the same people that cry and preach that we should dismantle the police whilst also having gated security and private security guards. Okay! So yeah, just remember that, right? I mean, remember, without the context, we don't know what they're actually deeming to be abusive. But then Alan Tudyk came in. I would be inclined to believe him. You know, this is not a man that... I don't know. I would just be inclined to believe Alan Tudyk. And he said, look, wasn't there, but I have known Joss for 17 years. I honestly can't even imagine it. And I have a pretty good imagination. Again, it's what do you perceive to be abuse? Would you perceive to be gross and unprofessional? You know? Again, like I say, I can believe that Joss Whedon is gross and unprofessional when it comes to women. Trying to enact certain bits and pieces. Maybe he kind of sexualizes women too much. I can believe that. But it's difficult to believe that, you know, they would accept such unprofessional, abusive behavior on set. You know, a little bit of overt sexualization, yeah, I can believe. But gross, abusive, unprofessionalism? I don't know, I really struggle with that. And I would love to hear more about this, Ray. Like, come on. Don't just tweet your truth, tweet the truth. Tell us all what the hell's going on. So anyway, love to hear your thoughts on all of this. Thought I would update you, so let me know down below in the comments what you thought of this. Guys, please do give this video a like and a share, would really help me out, and also just appreciate it. It shows me that you liked the video. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. I've been Mr. H. Take care.